Hare Krishna. So it's my great honor and privilege to be here amongst all of you this evening, speaking on the topic, when good fortune arises. So do you feel fortunate? So please do know that this is a very wonderful occasion where all of us have gathered to hear about some of the most essential distilled principles of our Vedic tradition. And you are even more fortunate because you are getting to hear this, understand this at the peak of your youth. I remember when I was at IIT, there was a program, and then, someone was mentioning that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so fortunate and so merciful that he delivered even the most fallen. And Chaitanya Charitamrita describes, Hena prema sri Chaitanya dila yatha tatha Jagai Madhai Paryanta Anyera ka katha. Even up till Jagai and Madhai. So Jagai and Madhai were famous for being the worst characters at that time 500 years ago. And Mahaprabhu delivered them. So when I heard that, I felt in my heart that such fortune should also be shared with others with whom I am studying. So I went searching for someone who I considered was Gaya Guzara. So I approached him and told him, he was like a really, addicted drunkard. He would always be in another state. So he was having a bottle in his hand and, I was talking to him and I said to him, this Saturday you must come with me. He said, where? I said, for a Gita lecture. He said, are you drunk? How dare you invite me? You don't know who I am? So I said, even Valmiki had a history. But everyone can change with right association. So he said, okay, I will come on one condition. I will bring my bottle of liquor with me. Will you allow that? Will they allow? So he thought, I'll just say, okay, don't come. He was trying to get out. I said, okay, let me ask the temple. Will they allow? Then I thought, if I ask the temple, they'll say, you also don't come. We are not so desperate for people. So I said, no, on my risk, you come with me. I'll take you. So he came along with me. And that day morning, he was already drunk. He would begin his rituals very early. So he had, a quarter in his backside pocket, and then he came up. And as we were entering the room, I told him, don't take this bottle inside, keep it outside, on the top of the window here. He said, ISKCON wala pee to nahi jayega. I said, they don't drink tea and coffee also, come on. So he just kept it there. And I said, I have one condition. You cannot open your mouth. Because the smell will come. So we went inside. And usually 2 people used to come for the program. That day 3 were there. So it was a major increase. So the devotee was very happy. And he started asking him question. What is your name? So I answered his name. And he said, which year you are in? I gave the answer. Which branch? I gave the answer. So he was wondering, I am asking him the question, why is he answering? And I said that this friend of mine is very shy. So then finally, as the lecture began, in the middle of the lecture, he hit me on the side and said, how long he is going to speak? So I said, some more time, don't worry. There is prasadam in the end. So in the middle, he got out, finished the bottle and came back. He couldn't stay away. He was feeling separation. And then finally, after the talk, this devotee, he said, are you interested in chanting? He said, yes. I said, Arey Baba, you have to do every day. Will you do it? Hey, you keep quiet. So he took the mala, put the mala around his neck, looked in the mirror and said, oh, I'm looking smart. And took the mala with him, went to the hostel. He had mala in one hand, he had bottle in another hand, and he told everyone, I have joined ISKCON. It took me 1 week to take the mala back from him. But then that was one of my first attempts to share Krishna consciousness with, someone. And I realized that even if you bring someone into the most fortunate association and give him access to the highest knowledge, highest philosophy, and the best experience which any soul can experience anywhere in the 14 worlds, still, you need the Lord's grace before you can actually experience that fortune. So therefore, when good fortune arises, when the association of devotees actually brings us to the lotus feet of Krishna. So here we find in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is standing along with Arjuna. And the last verse of Bhagavad Gita is very famous. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Yatra Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir. So Shri here refers to fortune. There is good fortune and there is victory. For whom? Wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjuna. Right? Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, the master of all mystics. One who can transform and change anyone's fortune mystically. One who without your even understanding the details can rewrite the future for you. He's a magician, Yogeshwara. But he will not do for anyone and everyone. Tatra Partho Dhanurdhara. He does that for Arjuna, who is a submissive, surrendered devotee, and he agrees to cooperate with Krishna. So Arjuna is defined here by Partha and Dhanurdhara. He is coming from a high birth and is highly skilled. But with the highest birth and the highest skill, that is not sufficient for Arjuna. Because with all of the skills at our disposal, any time our mind can become overwhelmed by doubts and difficulties. And therefore, even someone as expert and as successful in his entire career, like Arjuna, he requires the guidance and the support and the intervention of Krishna. So therefore, this beautiful picture demonstrates both Krishna and Arjuna are on the chariot. And Arjuna has all the skills at his disposal, but the Shri, Vijayo, that only came to Arjuna with the support of Krishna. So today we are going to discuss this, that before this Vijay happens, what are some of the things which we can learn from the lessons of the Bhagavad Gita? The lessons from the cover of the Bhagavad Gita. So this Gita written by Prabhupada is called Bhagavad Gita as it is. So it does not mean that you keep it at your house as it is. Jashi ahe tashi. Bhagavad Gita yatha roop. I went to somebody's house, many years ago, and I said, okay, I'll speak from the Bhagavatam. So they took out one big box and the plastic cover was still there. They started taking it out. I said, how many years back you purchased? We don't remember. You never opened it. We were waiting for you only, Prabhu. Today is auspicious day. So therefore, this Bhagavad Gita is to be worshipped with one's intelligence. And therefore in your school, college education, you are getting all the knowledge which is required for your competence. But this Gita will add value in creating the right character and the right kind of attitudes in the struggle for existence and in the battles in life. So as Krishna is standing there along with Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, it is actually a battlefield. And 64 crore Kshatriyas are standing there. And 64 crore Kshatriyas are standing not with Mridang and Kartal. They are not assembled for a kirtan there, Maha Sankirtan at Kurukshetra. They are all carrying deadly weapons with only one intention, to kill and to destroy. And therefore, this is a very amazing scene where Krishna becomes the chariot driver for Arjuna. And so the first principle which we'll discuss is Ananyata. Ananya chetaha satatam yomam smarata nityasha tasyaham sulabha partha. It is described by Krishna to Arjuna that one who is on this path, he has to have ananya bhakti towards me, focused determination to please me. So the first lesson we learn is Arjuna had all options in front of him, but he took ananya, unalloyed shelter of Krishna exclusively. And because he put all of his cards on Krishna, all of his faith in Krishna, Krishna also went out of his way to support him, reciprocate with him and help him. So you know this famous story that before the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna announced that Duryodhan, Arjun, both of you come, and I would like to share my entire army of Dwarka. So Duryodhan went ahead and stood right next to Krishna's face. And Krishna was sleeping. And Krishna has said, whoever I cast my glance upon first, I will fulfill their desire. So Duryodhan was ready. And Arjuna was standing near Krishna's lotus feet. Krishna opened his eyes and cast his glance on Arjuna. And told Arjuna, please ask. And Duryodhan was thinking, mar gaye. And Arjuna said, my dear Lord, for me, you are everything. And therefore, I simply desire your friendship, your association, your protection. I do not desire anything else. And Duryodhan was thinking within that doesn't have common sense. Too emotional, too sentimental. But good, no problem. Makes life easy for me. Duryodhan thought Arjuna not practical. Right? So many times people in the outside world also consider Hare Krishna devotees to be like that, in that category. Not practical. Some people have asked me, आपको क्या हो गया था life में? Someone even went to the extent of asking, कुछ problem हो गया था क्या? Some relationship issue or this or that? इतना extreme step? जीवन तो बदल डाला, हेयर स्टाइल भी बदल डाला. So people may think, oh, this is not practical. This is not, something which was. So Duryodhan may have been thinking like that. So Krishna offered to Arjuna, and Arjuna accepted only Krishna and Krishna's friendship. That is Ananyata. It is extremely tempting where the entire armies of Dwarka is being offered. And then many of us may get tempted And we may think we'll take the army also and Krishna also. Best of both. But Arjuna had full faith in Krishna. He said, only you. And then Duryodhana said, my dear Lord, since you are not available, what choice do I have? Army de hi dijiye. Just give me the army. And then he took the army because he had faith in Krishna's energies more than Krishna himself. And therefore, Arjuna, he chose Krishna because he had that Shraddha or the faith. Shraddha shabde vishwase kore. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is described, Shraddha shabde vishwase. That what is the definition of Shraddha? Krishna bhakti koile sarva karma krita hoye. Simply by doing devotional service to Krishna, everything else is taken care. So therefore, Arjuna had that faith. And he was completely purified of all of his other desires. What is the meaning of Duryodhan? Duryodhan means one who dedicates his entire life fighting for the wrong cause. That is his goal, to fight. But for what? Wrong cause. Duryodhan. Yodhan means to fight. Dur means to select, who's expert at selecting the stupidest cause. And then dedicating his 200% energy in making sure that he fulfills that. So that is the classic case of Duryodhan. So what was the wrong cause? Duryodhan's entire life was dedicated to protecting and preserving his own false ego. And in Kurukshetra, the local folklore says that Duryodhan would not allow anyone, even in the hottest summer, to carry an umbrella above him, because he could not tolerate anyone above him, including umbrella. That was his extent of false ego. So therefore, these desires within our heart, they actually conquer us. And these material desires need to be purified. And Arjuna was free from those desires, and therefore he could have unalloyed devotion towards Krishna, whereas Duryodhan was completely overwhelmed by the false propaganda of this material existence, where one feels that by attaining a certain position, attaining a certain situation, by being present in this manner, and by conquering over one's enemies, one will actually be happy and satisfied. Right? So therefore, in the third canto Bhagavatam, Devahuti, she says, Saham bhagavata nonam vanchita mayaya dridham yattat vimuktidam prapya na mumuksheya bandhanat. My dear Lord, I have been solidly cheated by your material energy. So the material energy has only one purpose, to cheat us. It cheats us. The material nature cheats us and traps us and makes a fool out of all of our efforts to be happy, satisfied and successful in life. I tell this story. One guy was traveling in a train, and then he heard someone selling, hand fan. Hand fan? And this guy was saying, 25 paise only. Purchase this hand fan, 25 paise only. It is never going to break. Unbreakable. You will break. Fan will never break. So he immediately gave 25 paise, took the fan, did once, it broke. He got bewildered. He caught hold of this man. Hey, you cheated me. He said, why? What happened? He said, you said it will never break. He said, how did you use it? You never asked me how to use it. This is a special kind of fan. You are supposed to keep it straight and move your head back and forth. So that is material propaganda, where One thinks he has made a great deal. I have clinched this deal. For such a cheap price, I got something. I really am so intelligent. And when people make a good deal, they feel very happy. And they feel proud of their intelligence. And they tap themselves on the head. Well done, well done. What a great deal. So material energy makes us feel like that. That yes, you actually have conquered a great deal. Prabhupada was on a morning walk. And then he saw from a distance, the ocean. And this was at Venice Beach, California. It was looking really beautiful, heavenly. And one of the devotees told Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, the ocean looks so beautiful. Is it not? Prabhupada said, yes, from a distance. When you go near, the ocean will trap you, catch you. So I was sharing this story about our Jagannath Puri Yatra. Where many years ago we had gone and devotees were swimming and the ocean waves were huge and powerful. Even the biggest swimmer, he had difficulty that day. And Radhanath Maharaj was deep inside and he was not coming out for a long time. The servant became concerned. He went to him and said, Maharaj, you're not coming out. And Maharaj said, my gamcha has gone away. How can I come out? Devotees are standing with cameras in their hand. So then he went and gave the gamcha. He came out and he said, when I entered the ocean, I was a Gaudiya sannyasi. I would have come out as a Naga Baba. And then he requested, make announcement. No one should enter deep. The ocean is in a very dangerous state. So we made an announcement. In spite of making the announcement, there was one gentleman who loved doing exactly opposite what was requested. Some people really get energized by this kind of thing. And he started saying, Arey, ocean and me, we are best friends, don't worry. And he went deep inside, he got trapped. He got actually trapped by the waves and he couldn't come out. He realized. And then helplessly he raised his hand and the devotees thought he's saying Hari Bol. And then someone said, no, he's in a dangerous state. So someone else jumped in. The lifeguard with putting, he was risking his life. He saved him and brought him out. When he brought him out, I told this devotee, he has saved you, give him some bakshish. He took out 150 rupees. I said, he has saved your life, 150 only you are giving. He said, I have read in Radheshyam Prabhu's book, body costs only 150 rupees. 6-session course. Journey of self-discovery. And then I said to him, you heard the announcement, don't go in. Why you went? He said, I have always managed to do this expertly, never had any issue. Water and me are best friends. I never imagined that I could get into trouble in an ocean. And that's what happens. That the waves of material desire, they do not trap us immediately. They make us feel confident first. And then overconfident. And then once you feel overconfident, then gradually the currents trap us. Therefore, Saham Bhagavatanunam Vanchita Mayaya Dridam. These desires, they cheat us. And the interesting thing is, who gets in trouble? One who's overconfident gets in trouble. One who doesn't know swimming, he becomes very satisfied when the waves touch his ankles. The waves touch his ankles, he feels, Purnam, Mahapurnam. And he encourages other people, you go. You go inside, you enjoy. And they try to drag him, you come. No. I am happy. Why? Because he does not have the confidence. So therefore, Prabhupada writes in the purport of the Bhagavad Gita, the feeling of happiness which one gets in material enjoyment, that sensation and feeling of happiness is the enemy of the conditioned soul. Because one feels, I am succeeding in enjoying material nature. And therefore this is a very important principle, that Arjuna, he did not get tempted by the armies. And Duryodhana got tempted by the armies. And Arjuna was simply focused on how I can serve Krishna. So that is ananyata. Then the second principle is that as Arjuna is loyal to Krishna, Krishna is also equally loyal. And that is called Bhakta Vatsalyata. So Krishna is known as Bhakta Vatsal. So what is the meaning of Bhakta Vatsal? Vatsa basically refers to Vakshasthal, and Lati means to bring. So when something is very dear to you, you hold it close to your chest. So therefore, to bring something close to your chest and hold it protectively is Vatsala. So therefore Krishna, he is so protective of his devotees, he brings them close to his chest and holds them, protects them. So therefore he is called Bhakta Vatsala. Sa evayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratana bhakto si me sakha cheti rahasyam. Krishna tells Arjuna, you are my devotee and my friend, so I am revealing this knowledge to you. So because Arjuna chose Krishna, Krishna decided to serve Arjuna by becoming his chariot driver. And as Arjuna's chariot driver, Krishna was taking a very menial position. So the chariot driver is given directions by the warrior from behind with the feet. That's how in the middle of the huge battlefield the messages are transmitted. So if he wanted Krishna to move to the right, Arjuna would have to kick him on the right side or on the left side or on the back side to make him stop. So Krishna was willing to go through such kicks by his devotee. But he continued as his driver, as a menial servant. So therefore Krishna wants to indicate that once someone chooses me, then I am totally loyal to that person and go out of my way to serve and please that person. Bhakta Vatsalyata. Very, very beautiful and important principle here, which Krishna is demonstrating. And on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna was performing that role continuously. So we find that the Pandavas had 7 Akshayini divisions, and the Kauravas had 11 Akshayini divisions. The Kauravas' power was much more than the Pandavas. But still, who won? The Pandavas. What made the difference? Krishna. So therefore, Krishna is trying to demonstrate that if you choose me on your chariot, no matter however many other chariots and horses and elephants may be there, I'll take care. But you have to make that choice of really, really having faith in me and serving me. So this story comes that Duryodhana had heard that amongst the 5 Pandavas, one of the Pandavas, Sahadev, is a great astrologer. So Duryodhana comes to Sahadev and says that I have great faith in your astrological abilities. So can you tell me what we should do by which we become successful and victorious? And 5,000 years ago, things were so different, society was so different, you can't even imagine. And Sahadev said, since you are asking me, I'll tell you. How you can become victorious, how you can defeat us? You do this Kalabali Yajna and Puja on Amavas. Whoever does that will become victorious. Duryodhana got ecstatic. He became ready to start. And as Krishna heard this, Krishna became filled with anxiety. And Krishna was always thinking, why do the Pandavas mess up every time? Every time I am trying to protect them, they do something without consulting me. After the whole battle was over, Duryodhana was the only person left. He is, practically hiding. And at that time, he started accusing Yudhishthir. That you resorted to unfair means, you did this, you did that, you did this, you did that. And Yudhishthir said, okay, fine. If you are not satisfied with the justice which has happened, then I promise you one thing. You choose any of our 5 brothers now. Fight with us. If you win, the whole kingdom goes to you. And Krishna gets a heart attack. Itna sab kuch karne ke baad, such a promise being made. And thanks to the fact that it was not Kali Yuga, it was Dwapar Yuga, some honor was still there. So Duryodhana did not choose Yudhishthir or Nakul or Sahadev. Duryodhana also chose Bhima. If it was Kali Yuga, they would have first chosen Nakul. Maro isko. Duryodhana chose Bhima because he had a certain honor, certain dignity. And he actually mentions that he's useless, this is useless. So Duryodhana had that ego. So his ego did not allow to fight against someone, below standard. Below his standard, what he considered. So Krishna just told the Pandavas that I am trying my best. Just consult me. Don't just make decisions randomly. So now Krishna becomes filled with anxiety, but Krishna is Bhaktavatsal. So Krishna comes on the bank of the Yamuna, gathers a whole group of pandits, starts doing some puja, tarpan to the forefathers. And tarpan is usually done on Amavas only. So the pandits get bewildered. They are thinking, hey, today is not Amavas. Tomorrow is Amavas. Why is doing today? Krishna was doing. So Krishna was doing, so they thought, okay, there must be some logic. They also said. So the puja was going on, tarpan was going on, it was not Amavas. Surya and Chandra got confused. And they were wondering. Surya is asking Chandra, when is Amavas, Baba? He says, as per my calculation, it is tomorrow. What is going on there? We don't know. Krishna is inconceivable. Let's go and ask him. So they come down and they approach Krishna and take him on the side and say that, my dear Lord, the Amavas is tomorrow, not today. So why are you doing this? Krishna said, whenever Chandra and Surya come in straight line, that is Amavas. So you are standing right in front of me. Today is Amavas. So Krishna changed the whole game. And then Krishna immediately called the Pandavas and said, now the Amavas Muhurt is there, you do this yajna. And they did. And as per calendar, Duryodhana did. But he didn't know that potency was taken away by Krishna. So because Krishna is Bhaktavatsal, when he decides to protect his devotees, he can do all kinds of inconceivable things to make the impossible possible. Therefore he is Yogeshwara. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna. So that's a very important principle of Bhakta Vatsalyata. And therefore Srila Prabhupada, he went to the Western countries at the age of 70. You don't begin a career at 70. You don't start anything super important at the age of 70. That's the age where people are trying to retire. And Prabhupada was assisted by 20 to 22-year-old young boys and girls. Many of them were college dropouts. And Prabhupada's plan was to establish an international society, organized society. So most people would have thought, it's impossible. How is it possible? How can it be done? And practically speaking, all of these people were not trained, in any of these management or high-level marketing or this or that. They had only one qualification. They had affection for Srila Prabhupada. They had faith in Srila Prabhupada and they were willing to reciprocate with what Srila Prabhupada was trying to share with them. Jai Shishanada Gopinath Ji ki. One of Prabhupada's disciples, he shares a story that before he joined ISKCON, he was in the Vietnam War. And he was saying that they drafted us without any training. Right from college I was asked to go into the army and I was sent to Vietnam and I was totally fearful of gun, of bullets, of any kind of war. And one day as he was going into the jungles with a colleague of his, suddenly from behind the trees bullets started showering. And his friend got the bullets, he fell on the ground. Now this devotee, he became really afraid. He thought the next bullet is going to be me. And then he started thinking about his family and this and that and everything. And he said, I don't want to die now. I'm at the peak of youth. Immediately he picked up his friend's dead body, placed it in front of him, thinking if the next bullet comes, it will hit him only. Because anyway he's dead. So few more bullets, no problem. So he just started coming back to save himself. And when he came back, right near where his camp was, he was saved. No more bullets came. And then he just thought that I will deliver this dead body to the army. To their utter surprise, they found out his friend was not dead, he was alive. And the army awarded this devotee Bravery Award for saving friend from battle. And he said at that time, I did not reveal. Of course, this was much before he got connected to the movement and everything. But he was just sharing that if one does not have the right training and the right attitude, and he just goes into some kind of a situation which is not prepared for, it can be overwhelming. It can create shocks. So in such a short period of time, so many young people who are getting connected to the message of the Gita, to the Bhagavad, without having any previous background, just by the association and the training of Srila Prabhupada and many of the devotees, they spread Krishna consciousness all across the world. ISKCON was established in 1966 and now by 2016, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust International has printed and published more than 50 crore Bhagavad Gita and Prabhupada's literature. And practically speaking, devotees have gone door to door distributing these books. Airports, railway stations, malls, houses, so many places. Just trying to request, take this message seriously. So therefore, this is a very important principle that Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. He becomes very favorable to his devotees. And he decides to become his own devotee's servant. And that's exactly what we find here. So, when Srila Prabhupada, he was establishing ISKCON all over the world, he was 70 years plus. And all of these people who were assisting were 19, 20, 21, 22 years of age. So Prabhupada had to take that responsibility of training them. And training means a lot of tolerance. But Prabhupada did that because he knew that unless we have the patience and the compassion to train someone up and help someone understand these principles properly, the knowledge is not going to be transmitted. And Prabhupada actually spent that time and effort And thanks to all of those devotees who actually came to India, the ISKCON was established here in India. And Prabhupada was taking them, it was a different culture for them. He was taking them house to house. And they were feeding them like anything. And, in the West, everything is straightforward. So if you say, I don't want something, you don't want. But in India, you sit here, even if you say, bas, nahi, or lijiye, take more. So they thought, we are supposed to take. So they started taking more and more. So, this one devotee was there with Prabhupada. After they came back from someone's house, after eating like anything, he started complaining. Prabhupada, my stomach is aching. Prabhupada said, you ate 25 puris. He said, Prabhupada, how do you know? Prabhupada said, I was counting. Another devotee started laughing. Prabhupada said, you don't laugh, you ate 15. And Prabhupada said, here the culture is that of hospitality. People will try to feed you because out of love and affection. But that doesn't mean everywhere you go you have to keep eating as long as they keep telling. So Prabhupada was personally guiding, taking care of them, showing them the right principles, the right habits, the right attitudes. Which is so touching because he was at such an elevated platform. But he knew that he has to give that attention to them. Like one devotee was putting stamps on an envelope and he was using his saliva. And Prabhupada said, this is not good, this is jhuta. You should not use saliva, use, water in a bowl. That's the clean thing, this is unclean. So this devotee got a bowl and he started putting stamps with that water. And then the water got over, only one stamp remained. So he thought, now for that one stamp, who's going to get the water? I already know the technique from previous conditioning. And that's how things happen. Our old conditionings don't go so easily. So he took the stamp, put it on his tongue, and when the stamp was touching the tongue, the door opened and Prabhupada was standing there. And Prabhupada turned to him and said, I told you not to do this. Why are you still doing it? And he said, actually I did everything as what you said, just the last one. And Prabhupada started, really chastising him. You didn't learn. So therefore, training requires a lot of tolerance and patience. And Krishna was tolerant and patient with the Pandavas. Although Krishna is totally dedicated to the Pandavas, still the Pandavas made many mistakes. They took decisions without consulting Krishna. But Krishna was tolerant and merciful. So that is how kind and merciful, an ocean of compassion Krishna is. Because when you are developing a relationship with someone, you are developing a relationship with that person's heart. And it is important for us to know what is Krishna's heart. It's nothing but pure, unalloyed compassion, Karuna Murti. That's what he is. And therefore, we come to the third principle, that Arjuna showed Ananyata, Krishna shows Bhakta Vatsalyata, and the third principle is Arjuna and the Pandavas. They had one unique quality which made Krishna very pleased with them. And that quality is called Nirmatsarata, non-envy. So here we find that Krishna became Parthasarathi. Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna. Krishna drove the chariot of how many Pandavas? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who? That's it. So Krishna decided to become Arjuna's chariot driver. Yudhishthir did not think, Hare, I am the eldest. Krishna, check my date of birth. Why you are driving Arjuna's chariot? Bhima did not tell Krishna, my dear Lord, I am the most powerful. Why don't you drive for me? Nakul and Sahadev didn't say, we are the most helpless. Because each one will have his own logic. Why Krishna should be with them? Nor the other four came to and told Krishna, let's make a schedule. 3 days Arjuna, 3 days Bhima, 3 days Yudhishthir. Like that we'll have. So, when Krishna decided to become Arjuna's chariot driver, all of the other Pandavas were perfectly fine with that. And they glorified Krishna as Parthasarathi. Krishna's one of the names is glorified as the chariot driver for Arjuna. So this is a very important principle, that Krishna becomes pleased when he sees his devotees reciprocating with love and affection with each other. And therefore, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described that yascha mudatamo loka yascha buddhe param gata tau sukha klishyanti antarito janaha. That the process of bhakti is so powerful that those who are Paramahamsas, they are in bliss. Those who are into sense gratification, they are also in their own world. Right? Just like in school or college. One who's a topper, who has studied 3 times and done revision multiple times. One day before exam, he is in ecstasy. He goes to other people's rooms giving them tension. That, oh, you're not done. Itna bhi nahi aata. Arey. जीवन व्यर्थ है. And then who is the other person who is free from anxiety? Who has never attended the lecture. Who is confident that even God can't save me tomorrow. So he is also in his own world. But who is in anxiety? Who has attended few lectures? Who has seen the professor? Who keeps note of who takes good notes? Who has a hope of passing? And a few of such people gather one day before exam and do their satsang. Trying to figure out what is the best strategy. How we can swim across this ocean in 24 hours. So like that, one who is Paramahamsa, who is beyond the modes, he is in bliss. One who doesn't know anything about Krishna consciousness, Gita, Vita, who only knows Maya, he is also in his own bliss. Because he doesn't know anything about spiritual world or sense gratification or this or that. Because before coming to Krishna consciousness, we never heard sense gratification. We only did it. We never heard about it. But after having come, now that you know we have to go to the spiritual world, we have to control the mind and control the senses and this and that. So therefore, the aspiration which we are carrying and our ability to fulfill that aspiration, that creates anxiety. Therefore, klishyanti antarito janaha. So here we find that the Pandavas were fortunate that they were so elevated that none of these negativities could touch them. Right? But we are in the struggling stage, and therefore we have to deal with our kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mad, matsar. These are the shadripus within our heart. And therefore, we have to be extremely diligent in the practice of our process. Because only by the Lord's grace we can continue having enthusiasm to progress on this path. So therefore Arjuna had all the external weapons with him. But in spite of having all the astras given by multiple demigods in his quiver, still at that moment when he saw Bhishma and Drona, Arjuna's confidence was finished. So therefore Krishna wants to demonstrate through this scene that the skill which we have acquired, the expertise which we have acquired, will always be with us. But the will to use the skill may disappear now and then. And if the will to use the skill is not there, what you will do with the skill? And therefore we should know that our expertise in the skill may be predictable, but our moment-to-moment will to apply that skill is highly unreliable and highly unpredictable and can sublimate in one instant. And therefore, that expertise and skill is not sufficient, and one needs to depend on the Lord's protection and His grace. And therefore, Dhanurdhara required Krishna's grace to intervene. Otherwise, if expertise was everything, why does Arjuna need anyone or anything? So therefore, this is a very important principle to appreciate. And many times there are various causes and reasons by which our mind becomes distracted. And we lose enthusiasm, we lose faith, we become filled and overwhelmed with doubts. Sometimes self-doubts. We had a wonderful sannyasi in ISKCON who unfortunately left us. His Holiness Gauranga Swami Maharaj. He gave a beautiful Sunday class. And one of the favorite parts of that class is he spoke about, one time when Bhima got little insecure. And what happened was Bhima was thinking that Arjuna is, so powerful. He is not only a great warrior, but he is also singing so beautifully. And I am used only for moving big, big mountains and all kinds of battles and throwing rocks at others and killing demons and all this. But when it comes to refined arts, I am never invited. So I should also develop some refined arts. So he went to the best music teacher in town and kind of told him very seriously, teach me music. And when Bhima tells you, you can't refuse. You don't take a test whether he is qualified or not. So Bhima sat right at the entrance, of Indraprastha, and he was practicing. So he was thinking that he is learning fantastic. But the sound, it was echoing in all directions and making everyone shake. So now the big discussion began. Who will tell him? Who is going to tell him? Who has the guts to tell him? So finally they decided Draupadi should be the person to tell. So Draupadi went and told Bhima that you are singing really well, but you should know that this is such a difficult art that you need ekant. And this town is too crowded and people come and go. It is too disturbing. You cannot focus fully on the practice. You should go to a secluded place in the mountains, in the forest, and there you sing. Then you will become expert. So he took that to heart and went to the secluded place and started singing. And he was singing at the top of his lungs. And then one gentleman came. And then Bhima stopped his singing when he saw this gentleman. And this villager said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I disturbed you." Bhima said, "No, tell me who you are." Says, "No, I'm afraid to tell." Says, "No, why you are afraid? Tell me." He said, "I am a dhobi. And I had one favorite donkey who is missing for last few days. When I heard the sound, I thought that is the sound of the donkey." So you can imagine, what Bhima must have felt. So then fast forward this, then Yudhishthira Maharaj tells Bhima, "You go and call Krishna from Dwarka." So Bhima says, "Okay, I will just have breakfast, then I will go." But Yudhishthira said, "I want him before sunset. Make sure you go fast." He said, yes, don't worry. So Bhima goes, takes breakfast, takes a little heavy breakfast. And then after heavy breakfast, you know what happens? He goes to sleep. Easy journey to other planets. And then Yudhishthira knocks on the door. It's already evening. He said, "Did Krishna come?" And Bhima regrets. He says, "I forgot, I slept." And Yudhishthira starts chastising him. That you are only interested in eating, you never do anything properly, this, that. And then Yudhishthira goes away, Bhima closes the door and starts crying. My dear Lord, there is still few moments to sunset. I have been chastised heavily, I have been insulted heavily, I have broken Yudhishthira Maharaj's heart. Please, if you really feel that I have done something for you, please manifest. And he started calling out Krishna's names. And then there was a knock on the door, he opened the door, Yudhishthira was there, and Yudhishthira said, Krishna has come. Bhima said, what? How did he come? He said, I don't know. So when he went into the room, Bhima was totally bewildered. He offered obeisances to the Lord, embraced him. And Krishna said, Bhima, that day you were singing with all the ragas under a tuition teacher for so many months. But all your ragas, that did not melt my heart. But today with the closed door in a helpless state, when you were crying out my names, those tears, they melted my heart, and therefore I have come running for you. So of course if you can sing well, you should sing well. But Krishna is bhavagrahi. And therefore, one may or may not have certain skills, but if one has the sincerity of heart to please Krishna, to serve Krishna, to attract his attention, Krishna reciprocates. And therefore, we should be satisfied and pacified with whatever ability and talents we have and focus on that for Krishna's pleasure. So that's exactly what the Pandavas did. Each one was endowed with certain ability to please Krishna and serve Krishna, and they just utilized those for Krishna's pleasure. Etavad janma safalyam dehinamiha dehishu pranair arthair dhiya vacha shreya acharanam sada. In the Bhagavatam, Krishna glorifies the trees of Vrindavan and says, these are trees. So from one perspective, are trees glorious or powerful? They are helpless. They are standing at one place. But they please Krishna's heart because they are selflessly serving others, accepting pain and giving pleasure to others. And Krishna says, this is the success of one's life. Pranair, arthair, dhiya, vacha, shreya, acharanam sada. That one is able to dedicate one's life force, one's wealth, one's intelligence, one's words for pleasing Krishna and the society. And that is considered to be the success of one's life. And therefore, the good news is, whatever talents and abilities we may have, they can be utilized in the Lord's service for His pleasure. And repeatedly pastimes in Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita emphasize this principle. I was just sharing the other day, you must have heard His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj give lectures. And when he gives talks, many times he makes sounds of animals. Sound of cows, monkey, this, that. So I was doing a program somewhere in a village. And I thought, let me also try. So it was Gocharan Leela, Krishna taking the cows out. So I made sound of some cows. Whatever I could. After the lecture, one person comes to me and said, "Kaun sa pashu tha wo?" Which animal sound was that? I said, hey, come on. This is Gocharan Leela, has to be cows only. He said, did not sound like cows at all. I said, it was Mumbai cows, And that was the end. After that, I never tried. So many times, when you see something, you see someone, the human tendency is, yes, let me try to do this. Let me try to do that. What to speak of now in the WhatsApp generation and social media and this and that. It becomes extremely difficult to focus internally on what is my core strength and my sincere effort which I can offer as a humble offering to Krishna. One becomes totally distracted and bewildered. And therefore, we should know that devotional service means offering not what I don't have, but offering what I have for the pleasure of Krishna. And therefore, this principle helped the Pandavas cooperate wonderfully with each other, because each person was satisfied just being who they are and knowing that with whatever limitations and capacities I may have, I can develop a solid relationship with Krishna based on my feelings and what I want to offer to the Lord. So the fourth principle is Shiksha, where Krishna spoke the Gita to Arjuna. Jnanam teham savigyanam idam vakshyami asheshata. Yat gyatva neh bhuyonyat gyatavyam avashishyate. So Krishna gave to Arjuna jnana and vijnana, knowledge and applied knowledge. So therefore, ignorance is the cause of lamentation and knowledge is the cause of joy. And therefore, the first, when Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, he is saying that I am overwhelmed with lamentation, karpanya dosha upahata swabhava. And Krishna, the first thing Krishna tells Arjuna, ashochyam, do not lament. Pragyavadamsya bhagatasu nagatasunsa na anushochanti pandita. The intelligent people do not lament. And then Krishna ends the Gita by saying, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharam braja aham tvam sarvapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. Do not lament. So the Gita begins with the message, do not lament. Gita ends with the message, do not lament. Therefore the entire Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge of the Gita is meant to uplift us from the ocean of lamentation. And lamentation is a symptom of thinking, I did not get this, or I have lost this, or I gained this, which is not really what I wanted. So through the knowledge, Krishna is trying to share with us that the only thing worth possessing is our relationship with Krishna. And once that relationship is established, nothing in this creation can make us feel a lacune. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with the simplest process to establish our relationship with Krishna is through the Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Iti Shodashatak Nam Kalikalmashanashanam Nato Partarapayo Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. So all the Vedic literatures speak about this. The essence is, when we chant the holy names, we are declaring to Krishna, O divine energy of the Lord, O Hare, please engage me, O all attractive Krishna, reservoir of pleasure, please engage me in your service. So therefore knowledge means to know the Jiva, the Prakriti and the controller of both. How Krishna is controlling everything and everyone. To get an idea about that is this knowledge. And then when we start practicing and applying that knowledge, that becomes applied knowledge. So that's the important principle. So the question may be asked that if this knowledge is so simple, why none of us are aware of it? Because in last several hundred years, the overall focus, culture, everything has changed. And therefore when Srila Prabhupada went to the West with the message of the Gita, He specifically wrote these books in the English language because Sanskrit is extremely difficult for anyone to comprehend. And so the communication is very important. The knowledge is there, but if it is locked in an esoteric language, how will it help? So therefore knowledge is meant for application. And so Prabhupada, he actually gave his books in the English language, and now they are translated in hundreds of other languages. So language is not a barrier anymore. So that communication is important. If that communication is not proper, then one will get bewildered. So therefore, even the Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters is extremely difficult. So we have now the 6-session course. So when you take the 6-session course, you understand the Gita in a summary, in a nutshell. And that becomes easy to understand. I was distributing books in the local train. One gentleman came up to me. I showed him the Bhagavad Gita. He said, I already have Gita. In fact, I have 2. One my father bought, one my grandfather bought. I said, okay. Take prasadam, take the card of the temple. And I said, please visit us surely sometime. So I was nice to him and I went ahead, started distributing others. He followed me in the next bogie. And he came up to me and said, give me one Gita. I said, Arey, you already have one from father, one from grandfather. One more you want for what? Your grandson or what? He said, last 6 months, practically everyone has been giving me a hard time. My boss has been screaming at me. My wife has not been good to me. Everyone has been mistreating me. You are the first person who smiled at me. And because you smiled at me, I want to take a Gita from you. So I was thinking, if I knew, I would have laughed loudly and given whole Bhagavatam to you. But I realized that many times the language may be there, but more important than the language is how it is conveyed and how it is communicated. And therefore all of you are at the peak of youth. You know the language of other youth. You take the message of the Gita, you understand the Gita, and then you share it with others in the language which they will understand and appreciate. So we are in the Gaudiya tradition, and so many acharyas have given such fantastic commentaries on so many of our literatures. I was talking to one Bengali boy, and I was telling him, you are so fortunate, you know Bengali, you can read directly the scriptures in Bengali, you can understand the acharyas' commentaries in Bengali. So then I asked him, so you know Vishwanath Chakravarti? He says, no, I know only Mithun Chakravarti. So then I realized that the acharyas have given such esoteric knowledge in Bengali, in Sanskrit, but the access is so restricted because hardly anyone gets awareness that these literatures do exist. I tell the story, you must have heard this common story. They were trying to sell a cola in Middle East. And then in the Middle East, they showed one figure, a man is on a camel, sweating it, completely depressed because of the heat. In the next one, he gets hold of the cola. And then he starts drinking the cola. Then in the third figure, they show he's in bliss. He has a, huge smile on his face. He's in ecstasy. He's got the cola. But the sale was not increasing. And then they realized that in the Middle East, they don't read left to right, they read right to left. Arabic is read right to left. So people were interpreting the ad campaign right to left. So they first thought the man is happy, then he gets a cola, then he becomes depressed. Opposite. So the knowledge may be perfect, but if the way you communicate is not proper, it doesn't percolate. And therefore, here we find that Krishna spoke the Gita to Arjuna, he could have directly spoken Sarva Dharman Parityajya. So many people feel that the Gita is very complex. If Krishna ultimately wanted Arjuna to do devotion, why didn't he directly tell him? Why was he taking him all around the place? Because instantly Arjuna was not ready. And therefore Krishna, he gave Arjuna a list of choices. He gave a book of choices and allowed Arjuna to choose. And therefore the way Krishna communicated to Arjuna was so perfect. And then finally Arjuna says, Nashto moho smritir labdhva tvat prasadat mayachyuta. Sthitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. So when Arjuna understood the knowledge, was convinced from within, he decided to apply it. Being automatically convinced from within, without feeling a force, that I am being forced to do this. So that is the glory of Krishna's communicating this knowledge to Arjuna. So therefore this is called as Shiksha. Then the fifth principle, we see that Arjuna is a warrior, but Krishna is the chariot driver, and Krishna took care of Arjuna's horses. When the horses would be tired, Krishna would take care of the horses by making them drink the water. Krishna would make a castle around of arrows and make sure the horses are safe. He would shoot arrows to the ground and bring out Mother Ganga and allow the horses to drink. Krishna would make sure that the horses' wounds are eradicated simply by touching with his nectarine hands. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. But Krishna is overwhelmed with affection for his horses. So Krishna began his pastimes by taking care of the cows in Vrindavan, and Krishna ends his pastimes in Kurukshetra by taking care of the horses. Like that. And therefore, Krishna is really the personality who is an embodiment of service. I see right in front of me Nandanandan Prabhu sitting there as I am speaking about the cows and the horses. And he is a chartered accountant, but at Govardhan Eco Village, he is the one who is taking care of the cows and the horses. And then His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj very much appreciates that in the day he is there with the cows, taking out the insects and massaging them, talking to them individually. And he firmly believes that you cannot make the cows happy just by feeding them. You can make them happy by expressing and sharing your affection and love with them. And so when Krishna was taking care of the horses, he was taking care of the horses personally, with emotion and with devotion. And that's a very important principle. And this seva bhav is what transforms that shiksha or knowledge into realization. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the example. He says in the 11th canto purport that when you take a betel leaf, pan, the pan is green in color. But when you add some other ingredients and when someone chews upon the pan, the color of the lips turn red. So when you look at the pan, it doesn't appear red, but the effect of that is red. So it's like that when you hear the knowledge, so the knowledge has a certain form, but when you apply the knowledge, it has another impact. And therefore the form in which you experience it is what we are aspiring for, the transformation of the heart. And that's a very important principle. And so Krishna says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosti na priya. I'm equipoised towards all living beings. And Krishna is demonstrating that at the pinnacle of success in his entire career, after he has killed and destroyed all the demons and all the kings, Krishna is now going to be declared as the supreme most, establisher of dharma. Still, Krishna is conscious about how he will take care of the horses. So that is Krishna's seva bhav. And therefore we have joined the Hare Krishna movement to actually serve the mission in a way by which we can bring Krishna's grace to each and every soul. Matta simma praya prabhu korila gaman prema veshe yai kori nama sankirtan. Mahaprabhu went and he chanted the holy names. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And as he chanted the holy names, he inspired so many souls to participate in the Harinam Sankirtan. And he inspired all of them to get transformed, and they all participated in serving each other and serving others, and in this way create transformation. And that seva actually is the effect of the chanting and transformation created within the heart. So this is a very important principle to appreciate and understand. I was doing a program, with my family, and one of my other colleagues had taken with me, and there were at least like 70 to 100 family members who were there. And this devotee said, and I had joined the ISKCON movement, so some of the family was not so happy. So he said that anyone who participates and joins this movement and becomes a devotee, 21 generations are liberated as per Bhagavatam. Trisaptibi pita puta pitribi sate naga. And therefore, please take to this process seriously. You chant the holy names, transform, not only you will benefit, 21 generations of family members will benefit. And then he turned to me and said, because he is now practicing, all of you will benefit when 21 generations will benefit. And if you practice, you will benefit and further 21 generations will benefit. So one of my cousins came to me and said after the program, continue chanting. And if you have any issues, let me know. And second thing, I also knew that I don't have to do anything, because you are taking care. You are chanting, you are practicing, that is sufficient. I told him that was not the idea of quoting that shloka. The idea was to inspire you also to begin the process. So many times people come to us and say, बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं आप लोग, करते रहिए. I said, आप भी करेंगे? नहीं, आप बहुत बढ़िया कर रहे हैं. And 3-4 of them gather together and start glorifying. अरे क्या कर रहे यार? अद्भुत है, अद्भुत. हम तो सोच भी नहीं सकते. We can't even imagine. And they'll go on glorifying. I said, Baba, stop glorifying, start practicing. I said, no. You are divine, Baba. We can't even imagine. So the whole idea is, each and every soul can actually practice this process. And that's the hope which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving to each soul. Patra apatra na dekhi sthana sthan. So the next principle which we see here is Krishna's virakti. Nimitta matra bhava savya sachin. So Krishna is totally detached. Why? Because Krishna is eager to give credit to Arjuna and tell Arjuna, you fight this battle and you become victorious. Nimitta matra. You become a nimitta. Oh Savyasachin. Savyasachin means Arjuna could fight with both his right hand and his left hand. He was so expert. Depending on the situation, he could change hands. Not too many people can write expertly with both right and left hand simultaneously with the same speed. Right hand, if you're a right-hander, you can write. If you start with left, then some other language you will start. Arjuna could fight with both hands. Just imagine, Dhanurdhara means not ordinary. But then, Krishna, he wants him to experience this. And so many battles Krishna has fought, and now Krishna is telling Arjuna, Maya vete nihita purvameva nimitta matra bhava savyasachin. By my order, by my grace, by my desire, everything is already predestined that all of these Kauravas are supposed to be destroyed, dharma has to be established. You become an instrument. So Krishna makes Arjuna his instrument. And in this way, Krishna, in the most powerful battle, Krishna, he speaks this Gita to inspire Arjuna to fight this battle. And that's a very important principle that Krishna is trying to share with us. He is demonstrating his opulence of vairagya or renunciation. And in this way, on the instruction of Krishna, Arjuna fights this entire battle. And then ultimately, Arjuna is victorious like that. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna. The word humility comes from the Latin word humus, which means soil. So the seed of devotion, if it is planted in the soil of humility, then it grows. And therefore false ego is to think that I am so great, I am so powerful, I am like this, I am like that. One of the disciples of Prabhupada, she was cooking for Prabhupada. And she was making some samosas for Prabhupada's journey. She made one samosa and put it on the box. Prabhupada came to the kitchen, he ate it. She made one more samosa and kept it, Prabhupada ate that also. And as she was cooking and taking samosas out, Prabhupada was eating. So she thought that Prabhupada likes my cooking so much that even before packing, he is tasting it. So she turned to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, who's your favorite cook? She was confident of the answer. And Prabhupada, as he was eating, Prabhupada said, favorite cook? Me, myself. Right? So Prabhupada, he very well knew that for a conditioned soul to go from the stage of conditioning to the stage of unconditioned devotional service is a long journey. And therefore he has given us a simple process. We come in the association of devotees and try to be in the mood of being a servant. And so Srila Saraswati Thakur says the Yuga Dharma for this age is Vaishnav Seva. And when we engage in serving the devotees, automatically we develop a higher taste and we become renounced. We become renounced from the fact that we no longer start thinking, I am the controller, I am the enjoyer, I am the doer. And this is entirely possible only by the grace of the devotees. Otherwise, how can I even practice devotional service? Only by the utter grace and the mercy of the devotees this is possible. Prabhupada was giving initiation at one place. And the devotee started saying, my name is so-and-so, his name is so-and-so. And they were comparing the names. My name is better than your name. Prabhupada said, the most important name, the most important part of the name at Diksha is Das. Means to be a servant. Like that. So Prabhupada had one disciple, Hamsadut Prabhu. His name was Hans Carey. It was a German name. So people were making fun of him in America. So when you are from one part and you go to another part, then people have a tendency to make fun. Right? Because they feel it's a different kind of name. Like if you are from South, so you have sometimes long name, Kanakapati Apalachalam Sankaralingam Zagapati Raju. If he goes to make passport, he'll think 3 names. 3 people's passport is being made. And if you go to China, name is very simple. Who? Name is over. So, when Prabhupada gave him initiation, he called him Hamsaduta Adhikari. So he said, hey, what's this name? Prabhupada said, your old name, you add Duta to your first name. Hans Duta. And then your second part, Carry, you add Adhi. Adhi, Carry. He said, after initiation also same name. So then he asked Prabhupada, what is the meaning of this? Prabhupada said, you read Bhagavatam, you'll understand. So he started studying. He couldn't get the meaning of the name anywhere. So another place Prabhupada was giving initiation, he was saying Kirtananand means this, Brahmanand means this means this means this. So immediately Hamsadut Prabhu was there. Prabhupada, who is Hamsaduta? Prabhupada said, you. He said, but what is the meaning? Prabhupada said, Das is the most important. So therefore, this principle that I am a servant is on the principle of renunciation, and it's extremely difficult to apply in one's life, but the process of application begins when we come with the devotees. Then the 7th principle is mukti, where all the soldiers whom Arjuna shoots arrows at, they look at Krishna's darshan and leave their bodies. Tathaiva chanye naraloka vira ya ahave Krishna mukharavindam. As they are getting the arrows on their chest, they are looking towards Krishna. And they give up their lives taking darshan of Krishna. Although Arjuna's arrows are so sharp and so powerful, so painful, but while leaving their bodies, they are all appreciating. Arjuna's chariot driver is so beautiful. So they give up their bodies, meditating on Krishna, and thus they attain the spiritual world. They all get mukti, which shows that Krishna's touch is absolute, all good. Even if they are killed by Arjuna's arrows, Partha Astra Putaha, they are purified by those arrows because those arrows are shot on the instruction of Krishna, Padam Apurasya, and they attain to the spiritual world. They are liberated. So therefore, Krishna's intervention in any form is always all good, merciful and positive. And with all of these, with Arjuna's Ananyata, Krishna's Bhakta Vatsalyata, the Pandavas, Nirmatsarata, Krishna's giving Gyan or Shiksha, and Krishna's Seva Bhav, and his Virakti, and his ability to give Mukti, when all of these are there, then Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Netir Matir Mama. When there is a perfect synergy between Yogeshwara Krishna, Krishna who is filled with mystic potencies, and he comes together with his devotee who is filled with unlimited enthusiasm to adjust his desires as per Krishna's desires and submit to Krishna's will and work as per his will. when both Krishna and the Jiva come together in the perfect synergy of mutual reciprocation of love and devotion, then Shri Vijay Dhruva Netir Matir Mama. Then fortune, victory and perfect morality automatically arises. And therefore, dear friends, it's our greatest fortune that we are getting that opportunity to experience that fortune by coming in the association of devotees. So it's our great privilege that by Srila Prabhupada's grace, we have been given this opportunity to come in the association of devotees at the peak of youth. All of you are at the peak of your youth. And this is the age to take to this process. And then, when you start applying this process, and when the soul, he is able to perfectly synchronize with Krishna's desire and Krishna's will, and then both of these wonderful reciprocation manifests within the heart in the form of millions of lifetimes of misfortune being eradicated, and the supreme fortune of love and devotion arising from within the heart. And then we get a glimpse of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectar of devotion. And so we are grateful to Srila Prabhupada for giving us this opportunity to come into the satsang of devotees, to start experiencing this glimpse of devotion. And I am grateful to each one of you and to the ISKCON Youth Services for creating a platform by which thousands of youth who do not have any opportunity to understand what is spirituality, through the efforts of so many wonderful souls, all of you are getting this opportunity to come, sit in a wonderful ambience, hear about spiritual topics and transform your lives. We hope that if the cover of the Gita has such deep lessons, what to speak of the whole Gita? So you can tell your friends, our scriptures are so deep that even the cover has so many wonderful lessons. We have not even begun reading the Bhagavad Gita in detail. So we are very grateful to each one of you who has taken valuable time out this evening to come and hear about when good fortune arises. I hope you will be able to apply some of these principles in your own life and experience the good fortune in your own life. Thank you very much.
So at this point of time, if any of the students have any questions, one or two, it can be taken.
प्रभु जी हरे कृष्णा। दरअसल मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि गीता में श्री कृष्ण जी ने अर्जुन से ये भी कहा है कि हे अर्जुन, मिथ्या अहंकार से प्रेरित हुआ मनुष्य अपने को ही कर्म का कर्ता समझता है, किंतु वास्तविकता तो ये है कि सारे कर्म प्रकृति के गुणों द्वारा करवाए जाते हैं। अभी यहाँ दो प्रश्न उठते हैं। पहला कि अगर हम हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र को जपते हैं तो क्या ये भी किसी गुण के प्रभाव से होता है, और दूसरा ये कि अगर ये किसी गुण के प्रभाव से होता है तो इसे निरंतर जपने से मनुष्य प्राकृतिक गुणों के परे कैसे हो जाता है।
हरे कृष्णा। आपका शुभ नाम?
रूपेश।
रूपेश जी, बड़ा रूपवान प्रश्न पूछा है आपने। तो अर्वाचीन मानव समाज में सबसे बड़ी समस्या यह है कि युवा पीढ़ी अश्लील, अपवित्र और फूहड़ बातों के दलदल में बुरी तरह फंसी हुई है। और इसलिए हम लोग प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि गीता और भागवत के ज्ञान को हम अविरल रूप से वितरित करें, और इस प्रयास में श्रील प्रभुपाद जी का बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा है कि हम लोगों को गीता का इतना पारदर्शी ज्ञान अपने तात्पर्यों के माध्यम से प्रकाशित किया है। जब आप महामंत्र की बात करते हो तो ये महामंत्र इस भौतिक जगत के पंच महाभूत से जनित कोई वस्तु या तत्व नहीं। गोलोकेर प्रेमाधन हरिनाम संकीर्तन भट्टाचार्य कोहे ए मधुर वचन चैतन्य सृष्टि ए प्रेम संकीर्तन। ये श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु के द्वारा प्रेरित और उत्पत्त शब्द ध्वनि है जो इस भौतिक धरातल से परे गोलोक धाम से यहां प्रकट हुई है। भारत में कई बार विदेश से आए हुए वस्तु के प्रति लोगों का आकर्षण प्रलोभन अधिक होता है। इंपोर्टेड गुड्स। तो ये महामंत्र भी इस पंच महाभूत से बने हुए जगत से परे गोलोक धाम से प्रकट हुआ ये मंत्र है। तो इसलिए जब हम अपने जिह्वा से अपने कर्णेंद्रियों से इसका आस्वादन करते हैं तो ये सोचना नहीं चाहिए कि ये हम अपने पंच इंद्रियों के माध्यम से इसका आस्वादन कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि भगवान का श्री विग्रह आपके सामने संगमरमर के रूप में खड़ा हुआ है, लेकिन वो संगमरमर नहीं है, ये साक्षात गोपीनाथ जी खड़े हैं जो आपको देख रहे हैं। तो उसी प्रकार हम इन चर्म चक्षुओं से जो दृश्य को देखते हैं वो इस जगत का कोई दूसरा वस्तु होगा, वो भले हमें दिखता हो, लेकिन जब भगवान को हम देखते हैं तो इन चर्म चक्षुओं से नहीं देख सकते। तो इसलिए श्रील प्रभुपाद जी ने हम लोगों को बड़ा एक सुंदर उपाय दिया है। सेवोन्मुखे ही जिह्वादो स्वयमेव स्फुरत्यदा। अहंकार प्रेरित व्यक्ति को लगे कि हां मैं कुछ करता हूं, मैं कुछ धरता हूं, तो नाम भी ले रहा हूं तो मैं ही नाम ले रहा हूं, नहीं। तो हम जब भगवान का नाम लेते हैं तो भगवान का नाम हमारे हृदय के अंतःकरण में प्रविष्ट होकर अपने अमृतमय तरंगों के माध्यम से हमारे हृदय के भीतर कोटि कोटि जन्मों से अनादि काल से जो भोक्तापन का अभिमान है उसको तात्कालिक क्षण भर में रौंद के रख देता है। यह है महामंत्र की शक्ति। तो इसलिए श्रील प्रभुपाद जी ने हमसे यही निवेदन किया कि वैष्णव सत्संग में आप निस्सहाय भाव में अपने दोनों हाथों को ऊपर करके उच्च स्वर में आर्तनाद करते हुए भगवान को पुकारो। तो इसलिए ये महामंत्र बड़ा शक्तिशाली है। तो रूपेश जी, आपके प्रश्न का संतोषजनक उत्तर।
हाँ प्रभु जी, मिल गया। बस मैं आपसे मतलब इतनी विनती करना चाहता हूँ कि कहीं मुझसे कुछ अनुचित कोई शब्द तो नहीं निकल गए ना?
नहीं 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 नहीं, नहीं। हर एक शब्द रूपवान था। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन।
थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर यू।
हाँ बोलिए।
हरे कृष्णा।
हाँ बोलिए।
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your wonderful class. So you told in lecture that we have to adjust our expectation and our actions according to Krishna's plan. So how we will come to know that what is Krishna's plan for in my life? Because at every step we are bewildering that whatever I am doing, I am thinking it is Krishna's plan and I am doing as my own things.
Ah, right.
So
what is your good name?
Suraj.
सूरज। रात को 9 बजे सूरज उगा यहां पर। So very good question. that many times we think, okay, I have a plan, everything will go as per plan, and things don't go as per plan. That is the very good thing, because then we start realizing that so far whatever was going on in my life also happened actually beyond my plan. So when such kind of incidents happen, we realize that, oh, previously what happened, I was thinking it was as per my plan, but looks like it is based on someone else's plan. And then the darshan opens, we look at Krishna and we may think, probably it is his plan. So it takes some time. Like, we were doing this yatra, we are going to yatra Mayapur this time. Many years ago when we were doing yatra in Mayapur, we wanted to serve pav bhaji. Because so many devotees said, oh, what everyday upma, poha, pav bhaji khilao. Okay. So only thing was, our pav was going to come from Kolkata. And the devotee said, fresh pav will make at night and send it. So I said, Baba, are you sure? Well, yeah, don't worry. And hot pav will come fresh. Dil khush ho jayega sabka. People will give ashirwad. I said, okay, fine. So morning 4 o'clock, I went to the kitchen, I called the truck. Where is the pav? And that fellow was stuck in traffic jam because it was Kali Puja. That we didn't calculate in our plan. And so the truck was stuck in traffic jam. I asked him, where are you? And he's telling me, abhi pahunch raha hu. That is the standard answer in India, many places. कितनी देर में? बस आप स्टार्ट कीजिए, मैं पहुंच रहा हूं. So we started 7 o'clock, everything ready. Prasad is ready, the bhaji is ready, where is the pav? And I'm calling him, he switched off his phone. That is another standard practice. And then, what happened? So we are trying to figure out, and then people are standing in line. Because breakfast time, whatever time you announce, people come little before only a minute. So they started forming line, and the line went up to the gate. And people entered kitchen, they asked what is going on, what is the menu. So I said, bread and jam. I said, hey, what? Yeah, traffic jam. So when you don't have any item to give, you have to now, decrease the temperature with jokes only. And then people started saying, someone came to me and commented, "Arey, 2 pav pe khade, 1 pav nahi mil raha humko." So then the truck finally came. And then the guy in the truck, he looked at the man standing till the gate. He asked him, "Ye line kyun khada hai?" Bola, "Suna hai Kolkata se pav aa raha hai." So he got afraid, he jumped out and said, "Main Ganga snan karne ja raha hu." He told the driver, "You go." So then we had all plans and everything, but then something else happens. So in our own life, practically day in and day out, we will have experiences where you plan something, but then something else manifests. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, "Prakrite kriyamanani, gune karmani sarvasha, ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate." So under influence of false ego, one may think, I am the doer. But the whole purpose of the, Bhagavad Gita is to help us understand that Krishna is in control of the situation. And when we are with association of devotees and we go through ups and downs in life, we get that opportunity to actually rectify our misunderstanding and come closer to our true understanding. So that's what is called Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Hoy Andhakar. So Krishna is like the sun and Maya is like the darkness.